Hey, my name is Brandon Rush. I'm here with Ed Mathews today. I'm an agent slash broker in the commercial space and also an investor on the side as well. Ed Mathews, he is a full-blown investor doing this
Yeah.
thing in Connecticut and other places as well throughout the country. Today, actually, we're going to chat a little bit about the relationship, how vital it is to have a good relationship between, on my side in this situation, is the agent slash broker, and on Ed's side, the investor. So we're kind of chatting a little bit about that and things to consider when working with one another. So yeah, we'll go from there.
All right. Well, hey, Brandon, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to catch up. I mean, you and I have gotten to be friends over the last few years, and I have a lot of respect for not only your knowledge of the market, but also how professional you are when you work with guys and gals like me in terms of us trying to acquire properties, especially in this roller coaster of a market has been really interesting, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. One of the things that I discovered, in all candor, not long ago, right, was that so I'm a marketer by trade. I was a sales and marketing guy all throughout my corporate career, and now I'm a recovering Fortune 500 guy, right, rat race guy.
Yeah.
But the thing that I discovered when I first came out, I was pushing and trying to find properties. I thought, you know what? Through direct mail, through direct marketing, through cold calling, I can find all these buildings. I don't really need a broker. And I had a modicum of success doing that. But the fact is that where I've had my most successful deals is when I had that trusted advisor, that partner in the deal, a broker, to kind of A, find me the deal, B, help me vet the deal, and then also to help me close the deal. Because there's a lot of moving parts, right? And
Definitely.
your attorney can only do so much, which leaves, as an investor, it leaves a lot of legwork, a lot of work to do with the seller. And if there's a seller's broker, to work with them to make it happen. And one of the things that I appreciate about realtors and brokers is the fact that their job is really hard. And the other thing that I found is that no matter how good a marketer you are, or I am, they always have those pocket deals that no one else has, because where I'm coming in through direct mail or digital marketing or speaking or however I'm meeting these building owners, the fact is that I only just met them. I've created awareness, but I'm not their friend yet. I'm trying to
Mm.
be, and I'm not their trusted advisor. That's what the broker does. And one of the things that guys like you, Brandon, or some of the other brokers, amazing brokers that I've worked with over the years, one of the things that they've taught me is they spend their days building these relationships. And it's years of building these relationships with portfolio owners, single family owners, multifamily owners, industrial, commercial, whatever, right? They know these people inside and out, and they know what makes them tick. They know what's important to them. And they've built a genuine trusted advisor relationship with these building owners, so that when it's time for a building owner to raise their hand and say, okay, I'm ready to sell this property, picking up the phone and calling someone like you, Brandon, it's a no-brainer, right? Because
Mm.
you already know who they are. You already know what they're trying to accomplish. You've invested a lot of time and a lot of resources into building those relationships. Me, I'm just some guy who sent them a postcard, right?
Yeah.
So that is really important and something that I've come to respect in my now advanced years
Yeah.
of doing this. So
Got it. Hey, Ed, I think you need to become an agent or think about it and consider it.
no, 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 no. It's way too hard. I don't want to work that hard.
You're absolutely right. When it comes to working with some more skilled and experienced brokers and agents, it does take time to foster these relationships, especially with the owners, to build trust. It's the same thing. You meet them
So
for the
true.
first time, whether it be through a cold call like you may have done or a mailer. We kind of market the same way at times. It may
Right.
just be a cold call or a warm call, but it takes time. And
Right.
it takes follow-up, and it takes consistency over a sustained amount of time, like anything else, to be successful.
Right.
And working with these people, my biggest thing is transparency and honesty is really where you have to be with some of these sellers. And as an agent broker, you have to pick and choose your battles as well. Not every
Right.
single seller is going to work with you. And as I'm learning, some sellers, like in the market right now, I'm working with a couple of sellers who may not want to understand or come to the understanding that we are where we are in the market right now.
Right.
The days of last year are gone.
Yeah.
So you listing
Amazing.
at 50% more than what it's actually valued at, it's not a thing right now.
Right.
Those owners, some of them, they may not understand through me. I personally believe in honesty and transparency, so I'm going to consistently do that. They may go speak with other brokers or agents, but ultimately, I believe they will come back to me because of that honesty and trust. And I do believe
Yes.
that long term, me showing my value to them will result in future transactions with them as they invest, they buy, and sell more in the future.
So true. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
got to tell you, as a human being, but more professionally as an investor, the thing that I value the most is honesty, right?
Yeah.
Tell me the way it is, right? I've got plenty of cheerleaders in my life, right? I mean, my kids think well, actually they're teenagers, so they don't really like me right now, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But like my mom, if I want to hear how awesome I am, I'll go have breakfast with my mom, right? I mean, it's okay, right? What I really want to know is what's actually happening. And so the value of our relationship, because I rely on you a lot for picking your brain, and some of your other colleagues who I work with, Maddie Cerruti, I'll give a shout out. But the fact that you tell me the truth, right? Whether I'm selling or I'm buying, I'm not a low baller. I try to provide a fair price, but being able to bounce numbers off of a partner like you, to be able to figure out from a timing perspective, if we're trying to squeeze every last penny, what are we looking at from a days on market perspective, just to see where the trends are going, how the interest rates rising is affecting pricing. Pricing obviously is a lagging indicator in terms of the economic world. As you were saying, some owners are still thinking it's May of 21 and it's not. And so my response to that is, okay, cool. I'll pay your May 21 price if you give me May 21 terms, right? And that's just not possible these days. So, well, it is, but I mean, not always. And it doesn't even seem like an adequate word, but I absolutely value someone looking me in the eye and telling me the truth, right? And that's something I've come to rely on you for, and Maddie and the other folks that I work with. I don't need it sugarcoated. I'm good, right? Just tell me the straight deal. And obviously we validate that through our own underwriting and what we do here at Clark Street, but having a partner, a trusted advisor is really important, and it makes doing deals so much easier, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll speak on that in terms of being transparent and honest. And the biggest thing is because it's a long-term relationship. So being transactional from the start and just saying, yes, it's a great deal, buy it, especially with newer investors, is the worst to do it. Personally, for me, it's the worst place to do that. Newer sellers or investors, because ultimately they're going to either sell for maybe something absolutely incorrect or buy for something absolutely incorrect, and they're going to get burned, and they're going to remember that.
They're going to blame you.
Even though we know in our head they should be underwriting, they should be doing their due diligence. We have to take ownership of what we do and step in. And to a certain degree, yes, we don't want to tell them everything, but we do have to give them guidance, especially on new investors and sellers. So that's where you have to be careful. We have to be careful in how we operate with them. And for me, it's about the long term. So maybe my commission won't be as high as it would if I went with this price versus this price, but it'll be significantly higher after we transact on 20 transactions over 20 years is where I'm at in my head. You know, same thing with my investors. You know, with the investors, I could easily go out and show you 10 properties today and say, all right, what do you want to offer on? And leave it at that. Or I can show you 10 properties and say, all right, what are your thoughts on the properties? And talk it through. What are you thinking? And fill out your questions. You know, what are your concerns? Trying to think of some of the questions I would ask some of my investors, but really digging deep into your questions rather and having that conversation versus just showing you properties and saying, which ones do you want to buy? What do you want to offer on? And then moving on to the next.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've had brokers tell me, we walk into a building, and I vividly remember more than one occasion and more than one broker actually turning around to me and go, this doesn't fit your criteria. Let's get out of here. And it's like, oh, okay, well, you know better than I do. So in terms of what this building is. And so that's something that is also really valuable to me when I'm working with a broker like you, Brandon, is I have views into, like, we're chasing, I can tell you the exact number. It's 1,208 buildings in the state of Connecticut, right? Those are the buildings we want. And my job is to slowly whittle that down and get those into our portfolio until there's none, right? Or until I grow old and get tired of doing this, but I don't see that happening. But the fact is that I have views into those, and typically it's not even deep views. It's just, I have a perspective on, most of the time, it's the building that we're trying to acquire, right?
Yes.
Where you have a view of the entire market, similar depth that I do, but you have it pervasively across the entire market, because not only do you see the deals you're doing, but you work in Lisa Cozy's team. I mean, you do hundreds of deals a year. So you see worlds more than I do in terms of transactions and who's doing what with whom and who's planning what. And that, again, is something I really value. I know you're not giving up missile secrets. You're not telling everybody what Ed Mathews is doing. Thank you for that, by the way. But you do have a view into the deals that are going down and the deals that may be coming up and the pocket listings that are in the back pocket in your office, right? Which is where a lot of these deals happen.
Yeah. Hey, Ed, again, there's a great one there. I'm going to switch it up a bit. I'm going to talk about criteria.
Okay.
Criteria is kind of one of the most important aspects of the broker-investor relationship. If we don't know what you're looking for, we don't know what you're looking for. But it's really that simple.
Hard to hit a target you're not pointing at, right?
Yes, yes. One of the aspects of the relationship I emphasize right from the start is determining your criteria.
Yeah,
Whether it's your first investment property or it's your 100th investment property, it's still important to know what your criteria is to
right,
start the conversation. And it doesn't have to be super specific to start. Some people feel like they get overwhelmed. Start with aspects of your criteria. It could be, like, example for mine, first thing I ask, what markets are you looking in? You don't have to be
right,
super specific. What markets are
right,
you looking in? Bristol, Connecticut? Are you looking in Hartford, Connecticut? Are
right,
you looking in Hartford County, Fairfield County? What is your price point?
right,
What asset type are you looking for? It's not always multifamily. It could be land, it could be commercial space, office space.
right.
And really narrowing that down, because what that's going to do is allow me, you're going to be top of mind when that specific asset pops up versus the one
Exactly.
who says, I'm open to anything. And I have
Yeah,
a few who pop and I cannot get the criteria out and they just say, I'm open to any investment.
right.
It's honestly overwhelming for someone to say that to me, because then it's like, do I send them everything and bombard them with every single property that pops in the market? Because that is everything. Or the investor who says, I would like 3 to 6 families in West Hartford at a
Right,
max price point of $700,000,
right, right,
turnkey. I'm sending it to them. So
right.
I'll bounce it up to you. What are your thoughts in terms of your criteria and how you developed it?
Yeah. So the criteria, we call it a buy box here. That
Mm,
box is really well defined for us, right? So the reason I know we're chasing 1,208 buildings is because I've worked with brokers like you and done our own market research and identified those buildings. And so I am a very big proponent of clarity. I have a profound case of entrepreneurial ADD where I don't want to miss any deal, right? I don't care if it's a duplex in New Haven or an 8 unit in Jewett City. I don't want to miss them, right?
yeah.
And that's the way I used to do it. And what happened is I chased so many deals, I wouldn't get any of them.
Mm.
And the idea of focusing, we here at Clark Street, our task is pretty simple, right? We buy, not to be crass,
Say
but we
that.
buy crappy apartment buildings from landlords who are struggling, right?
Mm,
And so we're very much a value added player. Our job here is to acquire those, make them clean and safe, and then make them beautiful so that people are proud to live there. And then they stay for a lot longer, right? And that's our whole business model. And so could we apply that to single family homes and 2 to 4 families and 6 to 10 families? You bet, but we don't, right? Our focus here in Connecticut is C-class buildings, value added opportunities, 6 to 25 units. That's it, right? And that's what we do. We do other things outside of Connecticut, but for Connecticut, that's where we're focused. Not only does it give me and our acquisitions team clarity, but it also gives the brokers we work with some clarity, right? And we're very well defined in terms of our geography as well. So we're in Hartford County, but not Hartford. We're in Middlesex County. We're in New London County. And we're in Wyndham and Tolland up in the quiet corner, right?
got it.
And so the eastern half of Connecticut, except Hartford, is pretty much where we live. And that gives brokers like you some clarity around here's exactly what Ed and the Clark Street team are looking to do so that you're not, I mean, time is a resource, right? And if I spend time looking at a list of duplexes, there's 10 minutes I'm not going to get back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And I'd rather spend that 10 minutes looking at a 10 unit, a 6 unit, and a 20 unit and deciding which ones we're going to underwrite rather than wasting my time on stuff that doesn't matter or doesn't matter to me. I mean, it does matter, but and that is really helpful. So what we do when we're meeting a new broker, and we actually send them out right about this time of year to all the brokers that we want to work with, we send out a list of here's exactly the types of buildings that we're looking for.
Mm,
And if one of them pops up on your radar, we very much want to take a look. What that does is it clarifies a couple of things or it produces a couple of things. One is that they obviously keep an eye out, but it also sends a message to the broker that we ever act together, right? We're a
yeah.
professional organization. I'm not some guy swinging at every pitch. I only want the one down the middle of the plate in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But the other thing that it does, and it's kind of interesting, is it shakes the pocket listing tree loose, right?
Mm,
When they have a deal in their back pocket that meets our criteria, I usually see it.
yeah.
And that's something that's really helpful because I wouldn't have gotten that had I not broadcast that information to these brokers that we're targeting. We're a marketing machine here, right? I mean, that's really what we do for a living. We market to 3 constituencies. One is building owners. One is investors, obviously. The other is brokers. And I'm talking about, folks like you, right? The
Yeah.
top tier, the folks that are really getting stuff done. We're basically marketing to you. You understand crystal clear. Here's what we're looking for. Here's how quickly we can close. Here's our process and make sure we educate them on and be transparent to you so that we have our act together. Right.
Got it.
We're sitting here talking about what's important to me. I'm curious, Brandon, from your perspective, working with an investor, someone like me or somebody else in the market, what's important to you? I mean, how can we help you do your job?
Got it. Yeah, no, great question. Like I mentioned before, criteria is a huge one, kind of the start. We
Yeah.
need to know what you're looking for. You can't say I'm looking for everything and anything. That's a deal.
Right.
Everything's a deal to the right person, to the right individual. But here are some common aspects of the relationship that help on the agent side with the investors. First is responsiveness. Right from the gate, you're going to give me your criteria, but I'm going to start sending you stuff. And if I send you stuff, at a minimum, respond with your thoughts. It could say, this is not the right deal for us. That's very surface level, which is okay. But even on top of that, this is not the right deal for us because X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Ultimately, what that's going to help us do is we're going to take that email or that response and look at what we have for your criteria and either add on to it or subtract from it, saying, all right, they're not actually looking for anything less than 5 units. So let's push that to, let's say 6 and plus units or X, Y, and Z. That's where the responsiveness is key in knowing, firming up your criteria and sending you more deals, because really, ultimately, what that's going to do is chop down the funnel of deals that come to you and really only send you the stuff that's key to what you're really looking for.
Right.
I would say the other is feedback. So feedback is similar to responsiveness, but if we go to our property together, I'm expecting to get feedback on the property for the same reason. A lot of it is so we save us both time in the long term. I would never want to tour somebody in 10 properties and never get feedback on any of them. Really, I'm expecting feedback on every property we look at from every investor. Just for the simple fact, again, I need to know what your criteria is. If there's something wrong with this property that you did not like, speak up. We're not trying to be crucial to one another or anything like that. It's really just to help us both save time and get you the deal faster and more efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, we're both in the business. We eat what we kill, right? So time is our most important resource. And here's the thing. There's a 50% rule is kind of a thing in the investor world, especially in the commercial space. And it takes me all of 5 minutes to figure out what the value of a building is. All I need is top line revenue. I need the rent roll, which I usually get from you and Maddie and the rest of the team. The fact is that with that rent roll, I could ballpark figure out what the net operating income is. It's 50% of the rent roll. Typically, that's what expenses are. And knowing the cap rates in the local area, which is something I also rely on brokers for, but frankly, we do our own research as well. I'm able to come back to someone who's sending me a deal and saying, yeah, I know this is a $3 million deal in terms of the offer, but really, I think we're probably at 2.7. And if it makes sense to write up an offer, happy to do it. But I need some guidance from you, the broker, then in terms of, are we that far off? Because we're a cash flow player. Appreciation's great, but cash flow is what gets you through recessions and economic downturns and other issues when the building, which it always does, throws a curveball of some sort, right? Having those reserves is important. The fact is, knowing that we have to provide a response. We train our team and me as well. If somebody texts or emails me a deal, I'm trying to get back to them, worst case, same day. But usually, if it's something I can take care of in 5 minutes, I stop what I'm doing and I look at the deal and I do the quick math and come back to them and say, okay, it's a mixed use building, probably not a good fit for us. But if I were to offer, it would be, instead of the $3 million offer, I'd probably be at 2.7.
Yeah.
And if I'm in the ballpark, give me a call and let's talk about it and let's put in an offer. If the owner's not that flexible yet, or they've got offers that are better, then they should take those offers. Right.
Just to jump on top of that, again, with the feedback, it's also important you give it because you just never know what can happen. You may be coming from another standpoint, this is not possible, so I'm not even going to bring it up. They would never, but you never know. So it's always best to list out, whether it be price, whether it be condition, whether it be something about the environment of the property that you did not like, bring it up because there's always a way to make something work. I can speak with the owner or seller, whatever it is, and say, hey, my client was concerned about this, X, Y, and Z, and we could find an agreement, whether it be price, like I said, or environmental. So always bring up your concerns. Never be afraid or shy to speak to your broker about what you're thinking. I'm telling you, it makes a significant difference, and you will get the deal versus the next one who kept silent on every property or only gave a quarter of their thoughts about the property.
It just happened 2 weeks ago. I was walking a property in Norwich, Connecticut, and it was a mixed use property, but there's an opportunity to rezone it so that I could make that an apartment. But the commercial unit was a disaster. I mean, it was a nightmare. And I told the realtor that I was working with, I was like, look, I like this property a lot, but this first floor, it's going to take X amount of dollars just to get it to the point where we can use it again. And I'm probably not interested. She talked to the seller's agent and he came back and said, I'm happy to fix it if you meet my price.
Yep.
And I came back and said, okay, done deal.
Yeah.
And now that building's under contract, right?
Yep.
So just that frank feedback is so important, right?
Yeah, no, just like that.
Yeah.
Another aspect is putting in offers.
Yeah.
So it gets to a point where all right, now we have the feedback, we've kind of done the showings, we have the feedback.
Right.
When do we put in offers? And we need to start putting in offers. I am a big believer in putting offers immediately at the numbers that work for you. If you have your underwriting and there's no reason not to put an offer, let's put in an offer.
Right.
Again, I'm transparent. So I had the discussion. If a property's selling for $2 million and you want to offer $1 million, all right, let's talk first. Let's explain to me why we're offering $1 million, and let's talk that through, because I keep control of the situation. I'm not going to let my investor or seller, whoever, go completely crazy on the number and completely insult. Right? Embarrass and kind of ruin a relationship for the long term with myself and my client. But I'm very transparent in those conversations. But putting in offers is very important, really, again, for saving time and also for efficiency in terms of how we operate, getting a deal faster. Because again, some may say, oh, they'll never take that price, but
never know.
I'm the expert. I'm going to talk you through that price, and we're going to see. Maybe it's been on the market for 150 days. Maybe there's something that popped up that that no other buyer is going to pick it up because of that environmental issue that you may be able to come down.
But we know how to fix it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
So what are your thoughts on offers, and how do you typically work on what you offer and what you don't offer on?
Our goal is to make at least one offer a week, 52 offers a year. And usually we surpass that. And the idea is not to throw out lowball offers, right? Because we have a reputation we want to manage, and we want to build relationships with our brokers. We're trying real hard not to waste anybody's time. Again, that big term, that big word, time. But the fact is that I will make an offer knowing heck, I make offers on buildings I don't even see, because people ask me all the time. Like, I'm going to tell you a story. So people ask me all the time, what do you see when you look at it? What do you look for when you look at a building? And honestly, I don't see wooden nails, right? It's like the Matrix for me. I see numbers going down the screen, and it's a big spreadsheet to me. That's all it is. And I try really hard not to get emotional, but there are times where I fall in love with a building, but I try really hard not to, which is why I have partners and investors that I can bounce stuff off of so that I fall out of love and get back to the math, right?
Yeah.
But the fact is, our goal is to make at least one offer a week. And you said it earlier, they're not lowball offers. It's just, here's what the building is worth to me. And I can give you a story around that, right? Part of our criteria is we have a certain return on investment that we have to be able to get out of every building. In our world, it's 12%. If it's below 12%, I'm not interested. And that's okay, right? So we'll offer on a building at that 12% cash on cash return. And sometimes that'll work for the investor, for the owner, and sometimes it won't. That's fine. And the other thing that we tend to do when we make an offer is we don't mess around with negotiations. We provide our best and final offer day one, right? Yeah. The offer you get is the one we're willing to do, because I've lost so many deals by going, all right, let's knock 50 grand off of this and see if he'll wiggle, right? And then the seller turns around and sells it to somebody else for the number that we would have bid anyway. And the fact is that we try to be an honest agent in this world, and our offers are typically our best and finals. Yeah, there's some flexibility, because you can have one of two things as a seller. You can have price or you can have terms, right? You can't have both. And so if you can offer terms to help us goose up the price to get you your number, I'm totally down with that. But, like I said earlier, if you want a May 21st price, then you have to give me May 21st, 21 terms, right? I'd like a 3% mortgage. That would be great. Absolutely. And that's where they make sense, because cash on cash is our lifeblood. That's the oxygen in our business. We don't deviate from it. That is kind of one of those big no-nos. We never, ever buy for appreciation, ever.
Got it. Oh, very good. And just one more quick point on that. Yeah. Another reason why it's good to get feedback and offers combined is because whether I'm the buying agent or the listing agent, that information can be relayed to the seller ultimately, and they can understand why this offer is the way it is. Yeah. They may not have seen something that you saw and make them rethink. If you just submit an offer blindly and just say, hey, here's $1 million, that's my offer, with contingencies, with no explanation, the seller said they're just looking at it and they're just seeing it as, oh, that's not my price, versus I'm offering $1 million, my client's offering $1 million because, again, there's this environmental issue.
A, B, and C, right.
Yes.
It gives you a story to tell.
Yes, right. And they know you're professional. They know that you did your due diligence. They know you're not wasting time.
Right.
So that will strengthen your offer ultimately. So that's really good.
Yeah.
One other piece of the relationship I want to talk about was just the relationship outside of real estate. Okay. We are human and needed. We're not robots that put offers in.
We are social beings. That is true. Right.
Another big aspect I would say is just follow up, staying in touch with your client, agent. It doesn't have to be every day. It could be quarterly. It could be every 6 months, whatever it is. But
Right.
really building that relationship for the long term. Because if you're really going to commit to an area for a long period of time, sustained time, you don't want it to be always transactional. You want to treat them as if they're a friend at a certain degree.
They
Have
are
lunch.
friends.
Yes, they are.
They are
Yes.
friends. We are friends.
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And you get comfortable with them. You know their style. You learn how they operate.
Right.
After you've worked with someone for 5, 10, 15 years, you just know who they are. You get so
Right.
comfortable that you don't even have to talk. You know what their offer is going to be. You know how they operate. It's just like you said, you're in a matrix with that individual and you know how to operate. So just remember when working with these brokers and clients that we are all human. So it's okay to kind of break the discussion of, hey, how much do you want to offer? Hey, do you want to see this property? Hey, how's your mom?
Right.
How's work? How's things going?
Family good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, all that, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing to remember. If we're working together on a deal, you don't work for me, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of folks out there are like, well, my broker won't do this and won't do that for me. I was like, yeah, because they don't work for you. They work for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And having that level of respect, I talk about it in terms of relationship growth, right? You create awareness. Hey, I'm out here, right? Then you actually start to create friendships. Like we go out for coffee, we go have a beer together. Our families know each other. We hang out together. We actually are friends, right?
Yeah.
And then as you serve each other and hang out and get to know one another and know what's important, that's when that level of trust comes along. And then at some point, we find a deal together and we end up doing it together, right? I mean, that's the process.
Yes.
But the initial part of it is that initial human to human relationship, right?
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
matter of respect, and people do business with people they like and trust, right?
100%.
I know plenty of investors out there who I like, but if I introduce them to my wife or take them out for dinner, probably not, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of them that I would, and same thing goes for brokers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a cherished few that I really, really respect and really, like you, really enjoy working with. So I actually have a system in terms of how we interact with brokers. So the ones where we're really tight, I'm talking to them at least once a month. And in most cases, it's several times a month, right? And it's not all business, right? It's, hey, I just heard you had a baby. Congratulations. Boy or girl, how much did she weigh? All that. And send me pictures because I want to see the baby, right?
Yeah.
And we become friends. Or, hey, I know you mentioned to me that a member of your family's going through a hard time, and I just want to let you know I'm here for you. And, oh, by the way, I'd like to do this for you. And just be able to create that relationship. And it's genuine, right? I actually like human beings. So, and then there are other brokers that I respect, but we're not friends yet, right? And I try to touch them at least once a quarter or for more. And then the ones that I don't know or honestly don't like, we're touching them a couple times a year, and just to say, hey, we're still out here. And at some point, maybe that will evolve into a relationship, but it's okay if it doesn't, because we've got our brokers we love, and that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is, you're 100% right. We're human beings first, and creating that level of trust and respect and friendship is really helpful in terms of getting stuff done, because every deal has a curveball. And when that curveball comes across the plate, so I'm an old baseball guy, so that
that's okay.
When it comes across the plate, the fact is that from what the platform from which I'm operating, from integrity, from trust, from transparency and honesty, and I know the same of you, right? And so then it doesn't become, well, Ed did this and Brandon did that. It becomes, okay, man, let's figure this out. How are we going to get this done, right? Okay, yep, that thing happened and it's bad, but I think I can do this if they can do that. All right, can you help me get them to do that? And we work together to figure it out. And that's where that level of trust and respect comes in. It's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not to add too much onto it, but absolutely honest. Like you said, people work with people they like and trust. Two biggest things. There's times where money just does not matter. And it's just more about, I like and trust this individual.
Right.
And I just know this is going to work, versus this individual is maybe offering more, but you just don't know. Right. And also sometimes you just want to, this person has given so much to you in terms of their time and whatever, that you just want to give them an opportunity. Not give it, but favor them because what they've given to you. Everything we do is relationship based in life, but especially this aspect of business and real estate is absolutely relationship based. So that was very, very good. Yeah.
I'm an old guy, so I've made that mistake more than once. So I've learned from my mistakes. I truly value broker relationships that we have. I mean, first and foremost, they're friends, right? But also they're frankly a huge piece. We don't grow unless we buy stuff, right? And the people who sell us stuff are folks like you. And at a base level, yeah, I mean, I like you a lot. I mean, you and I have gotten to be pretty good friends. But the other side of it is that I need you, right? I need you to sell me stuff so that I can go take good care of these residents and they pay their rent. And then over time, we build cash flow and wealth, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Matthews, thank you so much for joining me today this morning. Or Mr. Ed.
Oh, even worse.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
Yeah. So, kind of to finish this off, how can people find you, learn more about you, or just contact you?
Yeah, so thanks. Clark Street Capital is my company. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram at Clark ST Capital. And then you can also reach us on our website, clarkst.com, or call our office at 860-675-5800. As I tell people, and Brandon knows this, I'm a cheap date. I'll spend 20 minutes with just about anybody.
Well,
and if we want to meet for coffee, I'll even buy the coffee. So give me a shout.
Yeah, it's good coffee too. And I have to say, Ed, I've met with Ed several times over the past couple of years, and our conversations are always, it's not just, hey, how's it going? It always gets into very good topics, and it's very good. I encourage anybody who is interested in meeting with Ed, not the entire world, but it's a very good conversation. It's a very good cheap date. Probably the best, cheapest date I've ever been on in my life.
Well, I don't know about that.
And in terms of me, you would like to reach out to me, a couple of ways. BrandonRushAgent.com is an easy way to find me. BrandonRushAgent.com. Phone number is 203-915-3803. Would love to connect with any buyers and sellers in the market who are interested in having a conversation and starting that relationship. And I also, just speak on it, but briefly, I run a meetup in New Britain, Connecticut.
A very good one.
It's been running for almost 2 years now. It's called the NEI Meetup. And the website for that is NEImeetup.com. So NEImeetup.com. Limited seating. It's a great event. I would love for you guys in the audience to stop by at some point throughout the year.
Yeah.
And that's all I got. So I'll leave it at that. But any last words, Ed, about investor-agent relationships or anything?
I just thank you for your time. I value our friendship. I'm grateful for everything you do for us and me. And once again, it's great to see you, buddy.
All right. Thank you so much, Ed. Thank you, everyone. And hopefully we'll do something like this in the future. And it'll be a different topic, but just I'd love to have you bring more value such as you did today. So thank you so much, Ed. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.